Missouri Department of Conservation wanted to, well, clear the Asian carp from the lake. Kevin Mino is with the Missouri Department of Conservation. Good morning, Kevin. Welcome back to Big 550 KTRS.
Good morning. Thanks. Good to be here.
All right, so what happened?
Good things. We tried a new experimental method called the unified method to push all the Asian carp, but not very many of the native fish, to one end of the lake where we were able to harvest about 47,000 of them, 119.2 tons of Asian carp, and we figure that to be about 85% of the Asian carp that were in the lake to start with.
Okay, and I know you explained this the first time you were on the show, but explain it again. So 15% of the carp are still in the lake. Are you worried that they're going to reproduce and you're going to have to do this all over again?
Asian carp cannot reproduce in lakes. They need almost 2 weeks worth of having their eggs suspended in current, and so they can reproduce in like the Missouri and Mississippi rivers, but if they try to reproduce in lakes, their eggs will settle out and suffocate. And I think our harvest showed that. We caught no young fish. They were all adults, so not a single young fish was caught in the process.
So all those 47,000 carp got there through flooding and or some type of other means?
Yeah, it was through flooding, primarily floodplain flooding, when those really major floods happen and the whole Missouri River floodplain is filled with water. That's how most of them got into Creve Coeur Lake. Some got in from the Missouri River to Creve Coeur Creek and then worked their way up into the lake, but the majority from those major floodplain floods.
So you're expecting the 15% will just die off naturally over the next couple of years?
Yes, and the nice thing about when they're at that density, it'll greatly reduce the possibility of those fish interacting with rowers and paddlers, and at that level of their population, they're not competing with native fish near as severely as they were before. So we expect things like the crappie fishery to come back on its own here in the next couple of years.
What'd you do with the 50,000 Asian carp?
Unfortunately, Missouri law wouldn't allow us to do anything but to bring them into a landfill. But we also started the process of changing those laws so that we can better utilize those fish if we need to do this again in the future.
What would you like to have done with them?
Well, for me, I just think any other utilization would have been a lot better way to go, whether it was pet food or fertilizer, or there were some opportunities perhaps out there for human food. Any of those would have been preferable to bringing them to a landfill, and that's that's what we're working toward in the future.
What about future flooding, and if they end up back in the lake?
That is one of the things that we were wanting to demonstrate by this unified method. Any of the normal techniques that we use that work great on native fish all fail when it comes to Asian carp, so we didn't have a single way of trying to manage them or remove them. And so this experimental method, we were able to prove that there's one way of doing it. So the nice thing about this was, too, that commercial fishermen perhaps would be able to utilize this method just as well as we could. So we proved we have a method, and secondly, we think that we can work with commercial fishermen to maybe do this in the future after those major floodplain floods. And of course, commercial fishermen tend to have outlets for utilizing those fish, whether it's smoking them or preparing them for human food or providing them to pet food industry.
All you have to do is tell somebody who in barbecue you can smoke Asian carp, and you'll create a market for that. Kevin Mino, what about, are there other lakes you're looking to do this procedure with because they're overrun by Asian carp?
None that I personally am in particular looking at, but we're definitely going to spread the word now that we have a technique that actually works. And so we'll spread this word throughout all the states in the Mississippi and Missouri River Basin that if you have a lake with Asian carp issues and you'd like to remove them, we now have a way to do it.
This wasn't your idea, right? You gathered this idea from a number of other people, right?
Exactly. It was a true group effort. Missouri Department of Conservation, U.S. Geological Survey, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service kind of pulled together expertise from all over the Midwest, and Dwayne Chapman from USGS in Colombia had actually gone to Asia to observe something similar to the unified method and brought it back here with a few tweaks. We tried it, and boy, it really worked well.
Don't you find it interesting in that in this divided country, something called the unified method actually worked to get the Asian carp out of the lake?
Yeah, and it worked very well. See, there's hope for us.
All right, Kevin Mino, Missouri Department of Conservation. Isn't it amazing how much attention this story has gotten across Missouri and across America?
Yeah, boy, my 33 years of trying to get the media to all the positive things that I've been working on, I've seen nothing like this. It's just crazy. We had folks from Nat Geo and New York Times and just, boy, coast to coast, wanting to learn about this method. And I think it probably just stems to all the media attention for those carp when they're jumping into people's boats and all the videos we've all seen. That's very interesting. And then also to know that there was no way of managing these guys maybe until now.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a new technique for an exciting group of species to try and manage.
The unified method. Maybe we should try that. Kevin Mino, Department of Conservation here in Missouri. Kevin, good job. Congrats, and thanks for being a good sport and coming on the show.
Well, thanks, and I appreciate being able to help spread the word.